Hi there, welcome to Brian. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Steve Gearhart, and it's been a little while since I posted a video, so I wanted to post a video to educate people on how to buy wine for the holidays. For those of you who don't know, I work in a wine shop. It's a hand-to-bottle store, or a bottle store, as it's often called, which means that we're a much smaller store, but the employees who work there, such as myself, we have a wide variety of knowledge and experience with wine and liquor and beer. And that way, so that when you come in and talk to us, we actually talk back to you and help you and take that actual bottle of wine and put it into your hands. Yes, it's almost like a personalized service. It's something that you won't necessarily get in a grocery store that happens to sell beer and wine, or one of those big box where stores where it seems like they go on for miles and like you can't find one of the associates wandering around, and even if you did, they probably wouldn't know anything. So, you know, if you can go to a smaller store, that would probably be in your best interest. But yes, so here are some tips on how to buy wine for the holidays. Ask, what does that mean? Well, what that means is that you actually need to understand what it is that you're getting. So that means that you're going to have to ask the recipient of your gift, what kind of wine do they like? Do they have a specific brand that they enjoy? Is there a very specific brand, vintage, and type of wine that they enjoy? These are all very important questions. If you're getting a bottle of wine for a Christmas dinner, it would probably be good to know kind of like what the main dish is. If you're having a turkey, or if you're having chicken, if you're having pheasant, if you're having, because all those different things have different wines that would go well with them. So ask questions. Get as much information as you possibly can, because more often than not, what happens to us, to me as an employee of a wine shop, is that we'll have someone that comes in and goes, I know nothing about wine. And literally, this is what's said to me. I know nothing about wine. I know I need to get a red, and it needs to be under X amount. That doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't really give me a way to help you. So the more information that someone like me has, the better we are able to serve you, to get you the proper bottle of wine. If that's the only information that you can give us, we can certainly recommend wines that we know we like. And hopefully they will too. The recipient of that wine will as well. And if you have an idea what the dinner is, then we can certainly recommend one. But if you don't, we can also just kind of go, we're going to assume they're going to have turkey for dinner. And we go that route. So the more you know, the more you're able to tell us, the better we're going to be able to help you. So ask questions before you go out to try and buy a bottle of wine. Okay, what kind of store? Now this might seem odd. You know, what do you mean, what type of store? I'm just going to go to a store that sells beer, wine, and liquor. Well, here's the thing. As I mentioned earlier, some stores are kind of big, and they are staffed with people who kind of don't know a lot. And their best thing that they can do for you is to point you in the right direction or walk you to where you need to be. So if you come in and you say, well, I'm looking for a bottle of red. What kind of red? Well, if you don't know, they're just going to probably take you to the cab section and leave you there. Grocery stores that in states where they're allowed to sell beer and wine, in Maryland they are not, except for certain exceptions. The employees are probably not going to know that much. The selection is going to be much smaller, and you're going to be limited in your choices. So not only do you have not a whole lot of choices, you're not going to necessarily have someone's going to be able to walk you through it. This is not to say that these places are awful. You should never go there. But if you happen to know what you want and that's what you need, then these places are great for you. But if you're looking for that gift and you need help, those are probably not the places you want to go to. You want to go to wine boutiques or wine shops, bottle shops as they're sometimes called, or a hand to bottle, or bottle to hand. And that's the kind of shop that I work in. So these are stores where people like me taste wine and liquor and beer. And almost all the associates that work there do the same thing, so that we can speak to many, many, many different types of wines, different types of beers, and different types of spirits. So you want that knowledge on your side. So that way, when you come in and you get somebody like me, like my whole purpose is to come to you and say, how can I help you? And we engage in a conversation, and I'm with you and walk you through with what you need. So that's the kind of store that you want. A little bit of a personalized connection, particularly if you're trying to, you want to get that special bottle of wine, and you've asked your questions and you kind of got an idea, but you're not sure. That's where I jump in and I help you out. So try and look for smaller types of wine shops, of liquor stores. If you happen to go into one that looks a little pricey, you're probably going to get a little bit better service. If you go into one that's a little bit of a kind of like a Walmart vibe to it, not so much. So yeah, think about where you're going to go to get your gift of wine. So what does understanding the amount of wine in the world and trusting our recommendations mean? Let's start off with understanding the amount of wine in the world. A lot of times that we get people coming in and they kind of go, well, I'm looking for a red for a gift. And that's all we get. And then when we go down the list of types, the major types of reds, Cabernet, Merlot, Zinfandel, Pinot Noir, and we kind of get that look of like horror from our customer, because they realize that, oh, this isn't going to be that easy. There are literally tens of thousands of vineyards in the worldwide. There are thousands of vineyards in the United States alone. Each vineyard makes its own brand of varietals. Varietals mean, the type of wine. Some go the full gamut, both red and white, and they'll have like 4 or 5 styles of each. Some of them will specify just one type. It kind of depends on what the vineyard is. And so there is so much wine out there. There's so many things that if you were to try to do this by yourself, you would be lost amongst the choices. And even in a smaller bottle store, or a hand a bottle like we do, there's still hundreds of choices to make. So that kind of goes to trusting our recommendations. When we give you a recommendation, we're giving you something based on experience. We've tasted the wine. We've actually drank the wine. We've had food pairings. I like, one of the reasons why I do well at my job is because I do very good food pairings with wines. So if you were to come to me and say, I have X and I want to bring a good wine for Y, my job is to help you get that wine that's going to taste good with that meal, and you're going to be the hero, right? So that's the whole point. That's my job, is to make you the hero of the dinner. Here's the wonderful bottle of wine. So, but you need to trust me in my knowledge, in my experience, when I give you a bottle of wine. One of the things that you'll notice in a bottle shop with people like me is that sometimes you'll give us information, and we'll be like, that's really good to know. And then we'll have an $80 bottle of our wine in our hand, and we will put it back and go for one that's $40 and give that to you. Why? Because of what you're telling us. And we know that that bottle is going to be so much better for what you need and for what you want. Sometimes spending money on a bottle of wine doesn't mean anything. What means something is that the wine is going to do the thing that you need it to do. Is it a gift? Is it for a dinner? Is it for yourself to drink on the back porch? Yes, there are wines that are actually made to do that. They are specifically made for you to enjoy a spring or autumn evening on the back porch with someone you care about and having a glass of wine. They literally make wine for that particular occasion. That's where I come in. So I parse the information that you give me, and I give you a recommendation. And if I do a good job on that recommendation, hopefully you'll tell other people, go, hey, go to this store and ask for Steve, and because he really knows what he's talking about. Hopefully I do that good of a job. But that's the point. If you trust us with our recommendations, you're going to go pretty far. And like I said, it's our job to make you look like the hero when you show up to the party. Talk a little bit about champagne. It's a celebratory wine for the most part, or at least that's what Americans use it for. It actually is a bottle of wine that you can just buy and drink on its own. And if you go to a really fine dining restaurant, you're often started off with that as part of your palate to help cleanse your palate and help you, it's your first food pairing with a wine. So it's usually something light and interesting and aromatic. So champagne, though, in America is usually generally reserved for celebrations. So let me clear up a couple things about champagne itself. First of all, the cost is directly related to the reason why it's called champagne. So when people come in and they say, I only want to spend $20 on a bottle of champagne, we can do that. It's called a Corbel or Cavit or something, one of the others. And the problem is that when you pay 20 bucks for a bottle of champagne, cheap gets cheap. That's what you get. It's not very tasty. It's very sugary. It's going to be not great. Not a great wine to drink. But if you come to tell me that you're going to use it, you're going to shake it up and you're just going to spray everybody with it, that's the one you want. If you want a nice celebratory bottle of champagne, you are going to pay for it. And this is the reason why. And it's another thing I want to clarify. What is champagne? So often we get people come in, they buy a bottle of bubbly, and they say, well, we're getting this bottle of champagne, and it'll say cava on it. It'll say something else on it, but you will not see the word champagne anywhere on the label. That's because it's not champagne. Champagne can only come from the Champagne region of France. If you ever heard that before, that is not an urban myth. That is absolute 100% fact. In order for a bottle of bubbly to be considered champagne, it has to come from the Champagne region of France. It can't come from anywhere else. It has to go through the champagne method of creation, and it is usually put in a specific type of bottle. The bottle doesn't really matter, but the process with which to make champagne and the fact that it is from the Champagne region of France, those are the two key elements. And if it's not, doesn't satisfy those two key elements, it ain't champagne. It could be the same exact grape. It could be the same exact method. It could be the same exact bottle as in the Champagne region of France, but it's made, say, in England. Not that it would, but I'm just throwing that out there. It's not champagne. Sorry, it isn't. If it's not, I'm going to say it again. If it's not made in the Champagne region of France, it cannot be, by law, considered champagne. It just isn't. That doesn't mean that you can't find really good bottles of bubbly that aren't champagne. You can find perfectly good bottles of bubbly. One of the style is called Cremant, and it's made very similar to how they make to the champagne method. It's not exactly the same thing. That's why it's called a Cremant. But if you find a bottle of Cremant, you'll notice that the pricing is not that different than from a bottle of champagne. So you are getting something of quality. If you go to get something from Spain, it's usually called a cava. And again, you can find some really nice bottles of bubbly like cava. People like cava, and it's actually kind of tasty. Sometimes I will prefer a bottle of cava over a bottle of champagne. I think it's better sometimes. It kind of depends on the brand. So, if you're coming in and you're looking, you say champagne, and suddenly you find yourself in a section where everything seems really expensive, it's because you're being taken to the champagne section. And that stuff is going to be more expensive simply because it's a specific region and it has to be from, again, repeat with me, champagne can only be called champagne if it comes from the Champagne region of France. So, there you go. Can you can you get other bottles of bubbly from other parts of the world and have something really, really lovely and nice? Oh, absolutely. You certainly can. Ask the guy who's helping you out. Ask the guy or gal who is taking you down that aisle. Say, hey, I may not be able to get something like champagne from France. Is there something comparable? And I'm willing to bet that person will go, ooh, let me show you something. Here's something I like. Because I do that. There's a cava I like. There's certain Italian sparkling wines that I like. We have options. You have options. But if you want champagne, that's what you're going to get, and that's what you're going to pay for. So that's the end of the video. I hope these tips help you with your purchase of wines for the holidays. And I just want to leave you on this one note. Enjoy your dinners. Enjoy your wine. enjoy the holidays. Have a Merry Christmas. Enjoy all the other holidays that come around Christmas time. Have a Happy New Year. And yeah, hope everything is good for you. I hope you stay healthy. And yeah, happy holidays and Merry Christmas.